Inbreeding. It's not just for royal families anymore. But trust me, for centuries, it was practically their thing. From the 980s to the 1880s, royal families across Europe thought keeping it in the family was the best way to secure power, except it didn't exactly work out like they planned. These bloodlines became the poster children for why you should never dip into your own gene pool too often. In fact, their stories are cautionary tales on how genetic repetition can go hilariously wrong. Before diving into royal inbreeding, let's break down what inbreeding actually is. It happens when people who are closely related by blood, like cousins or even siblings, have children together. This leads to a lot of genetic issues because the family tree becomes more like a stump. Normally, we get diversity in our genes by mixing with people from different bloodlines, but inbreeding forces families into genetic corners. Think of it like copying a copy of a copy. It gets worse each time. Eventually, you end up with genetic yikes that lead to diseases, deformities, and all sorts of health problems. And now, let's take a look at some royally bad examples. If you were a royal in England, Spain, Russia, or Germany in the 1800s or early 1900s, you might have been a victim of hemophilia, a disorder that prevents blood from clotting properly. Queen Victoria of England, often considered the starting point of this royal disease, passed hemophilia onto her kids through her marriage to her first cousin, Prince Albert. Of their 9 children, 2 daughters, Alice and Beatrice, were affected. Through more royal marriages, the disease spread across Europe, even reaching Russia. Alexandra, Queen Victoria's granddaughter, passed it to her son, Tsarevich Alexei, leading to the infamous involvement of Rasputin, who claimed he could heal Alexei, but instead the whole situation spiraled out of control, contributing to the downfall of the Russian Empire. Speaking of royal genetic mishaps, let's talk about Charles II of Spain, known for being his own cousin. Yes, seriously. Charles II was a walking example of inbreeding gone wrong. Born with the Habsburg jaw, a genetic defect where the lower jaw grows abnormally large, Charles couldn't chew food properly. He also had a tongue so big, it interfered with his speech. And if you think that's bad, his family tree was more like a pretzel, as his parents were not only cousins, but also related through multiple lines. His reign was plagued by health problems, and his inability to produce heirs marked the end of the Habsburg dynasty in Spain. But inbreeding wasn't limited to Europe's royal families. In Egypt, King Tutankhamun, or King Tut, is another infamous example. Born with a host of health issues, including a cleft palate, clubbed foot, and a curved spine, King Tut was the product of sibling incest between his parents. As a result, he suffered through numerous deformities that left him frail and unable to lead effectively. He died young, and historians believe his health problems were directly tied to the fact that his royal bloodline repeatedly married within the family. In many cases, royal families weren't just creating dynastic alliances, but also playing genetic Russian roulette with disastrous results. They believed in consolidating power by keeping the royal bloodline pure, but all they achieved was passing down deformities and disorders. It's clear, incestuous royal unions were more of a curse than a blessing. So, what can we learn from these historical royal messes? Well, it's simple. Don't follow the royal playbook. Inbreeding might have seemed like a strategic way to maintain power, but in the end, it led to the downfall of many royal families. Let's just say, the royals may have been good at ruling, but they sure weren't great at genetic planning. Keep your family tree branching, not stumping.